it comes at the right time for me in my life. You know, I'm starting a new chapter. I've just become a dad, so there's a new chapter in my personal life. I'm also ready to play other characters. It has been a long time, and I think getting the opportunity to tell the story to it all the way to the end is something that everybody is so grateful to Netflix for letting us do that.
Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley from Variety. It is my pleasure to introduce from The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die, actor Alexander Dreymon and stunt coordinator Levente Lezsák. Thank you both so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Congratulations on a fantastic film that is also following a fantastic 5 years of a series. Whenever I have people as accomplished as you both, I actually love to go back to the beginning and ask, where did it all start for you? What do you consider like your first job as an actor, the first time you got paid for it or appeared on camera?
Wow. Well, I think the first scene that I shot was a very hot and steamy scene with Matt Smith on a movie called Christopher and His Kind, about the life of Christopher Isherwood. It's an awesome movie with some great actors, Toby Jones. Oh yeah, Imogen Poots. It was a awesome movie. Douglas Booth. Yeah, it was an honor to be a part of that, and yeah, that was my first time in front of the camera.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was very, very grateful to have been a part of that.
Lizzie, for you?
Well, this year I'm celebrating my 30th anniversary. So I started my stunt career in '93. And actually, it was a quite long way to get into the industry, because I studied philosophy. I never thought I will be a stunt guy. Actually, my father wrote a script. And one day he came to us and he said, it's going to be, a theater, and there will be riders. And I just asked him, can I ride in the show? Because I've ridden horses before, so I thought maybe I can be one of the riders. And I never thought they will pay for me, and professionals are going to do this job. And this is how I get into the industry. Actually, I started to ride in the show with my later stunt colleagues, and they found me, a nice guy. So they invited me into films, and actually, I remember my first film was an English TV series, and I had to sit beside my boss on a horse, and we galloped into a courtyard, and I was so excited when I watched the show. And literally, you cannot see anything from me. So that was my first shot ever in film history. Yeah.
30 years. Did you start when you were like 3?
No, actually, I have glasses, so I'm 50 this year. Only Alex doesn't get, he's not getting older, but he's really
actually
lucky guy.
aging backwards. Yes.
So I'm 50 now. I was 20 when I started my career. Yeah.
Amazing. So we're marking the end of an era. The Last Kingdom grew into one of the most popular titles on Netflix with this huge following. And now the TV movie, The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die, Uhtred's story comes to a bittersweet end. I would love to go back to the beginning and ask how both of you first came to this project. Starting with Alexander, were you familiar with the Bernard Cornwell novel series, The Saxon Stories, prior to the show?
I started reading them right after the first tape that I sent in for The Last Kingdom. It was a taped audition. I was living in Los Angeles, and I was really into the story, and I didn't know if I was gonna get another shot at it or where it was gonna go. I was just really intrigued by it, and I fell in love with it straight away. And so by the time like the second or third tape came in, I had read most of the books already. And of course, Bernard continued writing the books as we were shooting. There 3 more books came out by the time we were shooting, and then I reread the books at the beginning each season. Each season was based on 2 of his books, so I would reread those books just to be fresh up on it. But then I found myself in a dilemma, which was that I fell in love with certain parts of the books that we, for one reason or another, couldn't adapt into the series, and I was so disappointed. And so I kind of stopped that tradition of just reading the books in front of it, because I quickly realized that it was just it was a story based on the books, but it was not the story of the books. And so I had to disassociate my love for the books slightly from the show.
Have you gone back and read them now?
Not since the show stopped. No.
Now, you said that you read them all between the time of your first and second audition. Are you a really fast reader, or was there a lull?
No, I mean, not first and second audition, but there were, I sent in the first tape, I believe it was in April of 2014, and I got the job in September, October. So it was a long time. And
yeah, I mean, they're casting the lead of a series. I imagine there was also, you probably went in person. There were probably...
Yeah, there were screen tests from LA, and then I was flown in for a screen test in London, and there were lots of steps. And at the time, we were making the show for BBC and BBC America, and Carnival was producing, which is part of NBC Universal, and there are lots of very important people from various different departments that had to give their okay, and so it took the time that it took. Yeah.
When you're going through that process as an actor, is it hard to not get invested? I mean, you want to be invested a little, but you also know, it might not work out in your favor. So you're also trying to protect yourself from getting your hopes up.
Yeah, it's tricky. When I do an audition, I go full out, and as soon as I'm done with it, I forget about it. And then, of course, when you see that there's interest and when they want to see more, you get invested a little bit more. And, it's hard when it takes that long. It's hard. Nick Murphy, who was the first director and who kind of launched the series, was my guiding light during that time, because at some point I was ready to go, just, I'm good. Just leave me alone. I got the up and downs were hard, those emotional up and downs. But he said, just keep growing your hair out, keep growing your beard out, just believe in it.
And by the time they offered you the role, you had a full head of hair and a long beard.
Listen, it takes me about 4 months to grow what Levente has now. So I wasn't that far ahead.
And Levente, you have been the stunt coordinator on all 46 episodes of Last Kingdom. How did you come to the project?
I did a TV series with Carnival, who produced The Last Kingdom as well, called Dracula. It was just 1 year before we started The Last Kingdom. And I suppose they were happy with me. So that's why they hired for the Last Kingdom as well. And also, Alex mentioned Nick Murphy. So he was one of the directors of Dracula as well. So obviously I had an audition as well with him. But to be honest, on the first audition, we just started to work on the script immediately, and we just started to plan, the big battle in Ep 1, and he said, oh, there will be a huge, full body burn in Ep 1, and I said, oh my God, that's great, I will do it. I'm so happy to make it, because he said, the guy will come out, it's going to be crazy, and he will fight with a couple of Vikings, and we just started to dream, and that's how I became into the, came into the project.
I'm so curious about this, because I always wondered if stunt people had to sort of audition as well. Is it a meeting, or do you have to show them sword tricks, or?
No, it's more about they are curious. Are you capable to do this? Or obviously they check your CV, they check your show reel, but I think it's more about how the director and the producer can deal with you. Is there any chemistry or not? Because we have to spend 8 months together, and we have to work together without any complaints, and also I think they are testing your creativity as well. It's really important. Your creative input is a very essential part of this process and this job. So I think I passed the tests and exams. So this is how I got it.
So it's been about 8 years since the two of you first met each other. I'm curious what sort of your initial impressions were. Did you look at Alexander and say, like, yeah, I can work with this? Was he a good student?
With this, what do you mean by this?
With this, I can work with this.
Actually, it was quite a luxury because they gave us 2 or 3 weeks before the first season to make a boot camp with Alex and Emily. Normally, I have only a couple of days with actors, especially in low budget shows. But now we had more than 2 weeks. And I think we immediately had the chemistry between us. So hopefully I can say we became really good friends through the years. And I think it worked really well from the very first moment when I met with Alex. And please don't listen. So Alex really a sweet and great guy. He's really passionate, and he puts all his hard work into every project he does. And he took it really seriously. I was so pleased with him, because he really wanted to learn. He really wanted to be a good horseman. He really wanted to be a good fighter and a good swordsman. He had a really great martial artist background. So we were, and he was really tough and physical. I can see a bit more muscles actually through the years, but at the beginning, he was a really sporty guy, and a very good material to work with. To be honest, it was really a present or a gift for our team to work with an actor like Alex, because he was able to deliver all his stunts, all his fights, and I think which was really important for us and for the audience. You couldn't really see this is a learned choreo and pre-choreographed fight. He's a warrior, and we just had to wake up the warrior in this gentle guy and make him a brutal fighter, in his scenes. But it was quite easy because he had the background. Yeah, and also he was so sweet with my horses, and this is very important with, for me. I love horses, and Alex loves horses, and he really wanted to learn. So we practiced natural horsemanship. For example, he rode bareback. He did liberty work with my horses. So yeah, so I think he became youth ready in 3 weeks, and in the 8 years, more and more and more.
Wow. So did you have any kind of a stunt background coming into this, Alexander? What was sort of the physical, but also the mental preparation you put into this role?
Well, physically, I always loved sports and martial arts in particular, and so I'd never done sword fighting before, but I've done some eskrima, and it was pretty fast, I think, picking it up. But Levente is a brilliant teacher, and I think the sword fighting was one thing. The thing where I think we really bonded is how you just said about the horse riding and all the passion and love that goes into that. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized that I really didn't know anything, because when you look at guys like Levente and some people who work in his team, like my stunt double Toma Katric, and at the time my stunt double was Bense, actually. Those guys are just so connected to the animals that they work with. They can communicate with their horses and guide them and command them just through a shift of energy in their own body. It's truly astonishing to witness, and I had so much respect for Levente from the start, because it was clear that he was so brilliant at his craft, and at communicating it, but also just his whole outlook on the craft and on the communication with the animals, but also with the actors, which often is very similar, was so gentle and passionate and patient and loving. It was a very surprising process, and not really what I had imagined. I had done horseback riding when I was a kid, but I had never really learned how to do it. I would just jump on a horse and kind of go. It was out in the Midwest, and so there weren't any limits really, but or any constraints or rules. But but learning from Levente gave me an insight very quickly into who he was as a person and how he lived his life and what his values were. And that is something that I connected with instantly and had a lot of admiration for. And so that part of the preparation was it was so fun, it was so fun to learn. And I realized straight away that working with horses was really just like learning a new language. And it also made me a better actor, because you have to be in the moment at all times when you're on a horse. And that's also what you have to do when you're doing a scene, and it's kind of a constant like wake up call to being right there and reacting to what's going on. And Levente had such an intricate understanding of all of it, not just the action, not just the stunts, not just the horse riding, but also the story and the character aspect of it, and how building a certain choreography enhanced the storytelling of it all. It was such an easy understanding between us. And so that whole preparation process was really something that I couldn't get enough of. And I think later on, once we started shooting, the longer we went, the less time we had for preparations and rehearsals. And so all of that had to be done on your one day off a week, so I'm sad to say that at some point it became something that you had to do just because you're just so tired. But once you're there, you're reminded of the joy in it. And I think we also had that huge advantage of getting on so well and of developing a shorthand between us, that we managed to work very fast. I think, like once we were 1 or 2 seasons in, preparing a fight choreography was something that was very, very quick. By the time I would get in, Levente's team would have prepped a whole, idea of a fight, and then we would try it out and see what works and see what didn't work and study it up. But it was something that became very very easy to slip into and to take on.
It's funny because there's this old adage about never work with animals or children. And they're actually 2 of my favorite scene partners for actors, because they don't let you lie. They don't, you have to be completely honest, and they're not really impressed by you. So I actually really love seeing actors work opposite them.
For the actors, it's great. For the camera department and for the first ID who has to keep an eye on the clock, it's a nightmare.
I'm curious how your collaboration evolved over time, because Levente, did you start to realize that, Alexander could handle more and more challenging stunts, and you just kept throwing things at him, as the years went on?
To be honest, we had to pull him back most of the time, because he's a really tough guy. He's really a brave guy, and he has the physicality to do it. So obviously, I was so happy to give him as much as we can, but sometimes, the producers limited us what he can do and what he cannot do.
Well, and the insurance companies, yeah.
And the insurance company, yeah, they
mainly.
The most funniest part of my life, obviously, to write risk assessments day by day for the insurance company. But to be honest, I felt myself and my team maybe the most loyal servants of Utrecht. Because we served him through 8 years, from the very beginning to the very end, to get that Bebenberg. And you can be a loyal servant if you have a really great leader. And Alex was a really great leader. It's a really, really essential point in the cast and crew. If you have a great lead actor, that will help a lot, because everyone follows him, and if you have a talent who is not that good and full of mistakes, human mistakes, it's really hard to work with, and can poison the whole shooting. So we were loyal servants because we had a really great leader, and it was easy to follow him because he always showed a good example for everyone. So when we had the most difficult scenes, we had terrible heat, terrible cold, Alex was always the first one in the row. So obviously everyone just went after him. So if for example, at once he saw a carriage stuck in the mud, he was almost the first one who came to help push the cart out of the mud. So I think we were very, very lucky with Alex, because I think his participation in this show was much more bigger than just to be a lead actor. So he was one of the hearts or souls of the whole show, and we were really grateful for him.
That was perfect. I'll make the wire transfer at the end of the call.
But you did evolve also behind the scenes. You became a producer on a show. You directed a fabulous episode in season 5. I'm curious if, sort of when you came onto the show, because I have heard that, it starts at the top. And were you aware of kind of the I don't want to say pressure, but the responsibility of being number 1 on the call sheet? You really are kind of setting the tone for the whole set.
I think that's something that I came to realize as the years went by. I certainly didn't feel any pressure about it. It just I just think you should be respectful, wherever you are and whatever your number is on the call sheet or your place in a production. And yeah, that just seemed natural and also frankly so easy to do, because we got so lucky with everybody that we worked with. And I think that's truly to the credit of Nigel and Gareth, our producers, who put the whole team together. I think it says a lot about their own values, that they were able to choose people who really looked out for each other and who were passionate and kind and supportive. And I think it turned out to be absolutely essential, because the shooting conditions were not always easy. A cart getting stuck in the mud is like a daily occurrence on the show, and there have been many moments where we were just freezing, and it's not the kind of show that had the budget to have big warming tents or we were in it. And I think it added a lot to what ended up on screen, because you see the cold, you really, you can see it, that it's in every character's bone, and it was in every crew member's bones. And when you're working in conditions like that, you really have to look out for each other and stick together. And so it was just something that seemed natural.
It looks so hard. I mean, you have this enormous ensemble. It's a period piece. These scenes are so visceral. At the same time, it just judging by some of the things you post on Instagram, it looks like you're having fun.
So much.
Okay.
So much. Oh yeah. No, it was great. I hope that didn't come across in the wrong way. No, we had a blast. I mean, we loved it, and of course there were difficult days, but we've had people in our crew that have been there from year 1 that have turned down major projects that would have paid much better than The Last Kingdom, that came back to us because I think everybody was very appreciative of the family atmosphere that we had. It was a happy set.
There's got to be something so much fun in doing these really gory, bloody scenes too.
Yeah.
I am curious. I guess maybe specifically to doing the feature film version, you really up the ante for these stunts and for these big epic battle sequences. For each of you, what was the most challenging scene or moment in the movie from all of these, great action scenes you have to choose from?
I think a shield wall is always challenging just because it can get so chaotic and there's so many moving parts to it. There's a lot of waiting around, and you have to, when you're on, you have to be on, and your energy has to be at 100%. I think that can be challenging when you're in the rain and in the mud and you get soaked to the bone, and then suddenly you're off for 2 hours and your body cools down, and then you start up again, and so that is for me, and I'm very well looked after when I'm on the set, but we have so many stunt performers and action supporting artists, and there isn't a costume person assigned to every member of the team. A lot of these guys stand in formation and wait until the next shot comes along, and they're freezing and wet, and I think those are challenging moments. And then of course, for Levente, that brings a whole other set of challenges in terms of coordination and making sure that his team is happy. And I mean, I'll let you speak to that.
Never happy. Always complaining.
No, that's the extraordinary thing. There is no complaining, and that's truly remarkable. But what was the hardest thing for you during the?
Well, actually, I think it's going to be really strange if I'm saying not the physical side of it. I think the real challenge for me was to make something different, because we did lots of battles, and we always try to make something different from the previous. And obviously, after 8 years, it's really hard to come up with something new. So that was the first real challenge. The second challenge is obviously to hold back your ego, because you have lots of ideas. And I'm a stunt coordinator who thinks this is a children's playground, and I'm looking down and they're just playing, and they're just always brainstorming, and I'm come up plenty of ideas I'm putting on the table, and I really had to understand that sometimes if I think I have a brilliant idea, that's not that brilliant as I think. So so I think, and in every episode, in every battle, and especially in this one, we came up lots of ideas, but we had to trust the directors and the producers' instincts, because they know much better, what the audience needs. And obviously, I learned through the years, I have to trust them, and of course, I have to accept their decision. So that was the second challenge. It's
oh my God, you're being so humble, Levente. That's like there have been, you have no idea how many of his ideas have been actually implemented in the show, and so many ideas that weren't necessarily stunt related, but were story points that made the story so much stronger. And you always present them in a way that is not at all annoying, that is always productive, always in service of the story. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, and you're not pissed off about it. You always keep your ego in check. It's remarkable what you've added to the story outside of the just the stunt world.
But I can say the same about Alex, because I think we had lots of chats, about how to make the show better, and he had also lots of great ideas which were built in the show. I think through the years, Alex made this show much better and better with his ideas.
Well, I think that speaks to the atmosphere that I think that the producers also created, is that we could voice our ideas and our opinions, and it was a very what's the right word I'm looking for? It was very inclusive.
But okay, can I say just a third challenge, because I have lots of challenges. I'm a stunt guy. I'm full with challenges. I had to handle lots of challenges. So the third one is how to make a character-driven action sequence, because I don't really like, sorry to for the word, action porn. When you do action for action, you know, it's going to be really boring from one point. So, and to keep up the tension, you are able to keep up the tension if you are not forgetting, you know, the storytelling. You have to tell Utrecht's story and a couple of other characters' story, and you have to build up the tension through their you know, fights
Journey.
and beats, and yeah. So we have to make a journey, and sometimes it's really challenging, and it's you know, lots of planning and lots of thinking about, okay, how can I show his story, you know, and the end result has to, the audience has to sit like this. And I really hope we were able to make it work in this last battle. And also I wanted to really show the audience how it feels to be inside the shield wall, how to fight in a bloody battle where there are no rules, you know, there are no Brad Pitts doing, you know, beautiful fights. No, it's a really messy, dirty and bloody story. And also we wanted to show how vulnerable even a hero can be. And that's how Utrecht was defeated at the end. You know, suddenly just a spear came from nowhere, and that's the end of you know, a huge hero. So these were the biggest challenges, believe me, and not that, you know, mud and horses and lots of stunt guys, because obviously they are challenging, but this was the essential challenge on this show.
I mean, I love that. The action is cool to look at, but it always has to be in service of the story, or else you kind of really don't care. And that's something that these scenes do so well. I would just love to kind of break down that final battle scene even more and ask, you know, about all the planning and preparation that goes into it. Where do you start? How many weeks does it take for you to plan it out? And then when you're actually on set, how long does something like that take to shoot?
Well, you know, the process is something like that. You have a page turn with the director. When you read the script, and obviously you visualize something, and you have page turn with the director. You sit down. We worked with Ed Basilgate on this show, and we had a long history together. He did lots of other episodes, so I think we were really on the same page from the very first moment. We really felt each other. You know, it was very easy to work with him in this way, and you know, we discuss how we can make the story better, and maybe if we have to change something in the script, what we have to change to make a better storytelling. And obviously because the writer is not necessarily a rider or not a warrior, there are some small corrections you have to make, because you know how a warrior behaves, how a horse behaves. So and we try to be as authentic as you can be in a film. So when you make all these changes, you can do a brainstorming with your great team, especially with my fight master Tomáš Kotrič, Toma. He's a really great guy, and he did lots of great fights in TLK's history. I think he was, you know, my right hand, left hand, and sometimes my both legs. So he's really a great guy, and actually he should be really here, not just me, because he added to the show lots of things. So we had a huge brainstorm, and then when we figure out what kind of actions we are able to, you know, build in to this story, we have a boot camp when we have, you know, lots of horses, lots of stunt guys, and then the rehearsals when we really build up the story step by step. And to shoot this, I think it was about 10 days plus a couple of more second unit days. So yeah, it was about 2 weeks or just a little bit more.
I'm still like a little bit in denial that Uhtred's journey has come to an end. So when you talk about how, you know, how it's done for him, I'm not processing it. I'm curious how the two of you are sort of processing that, like looking back over these last 8 years, what has this series and playing this character meant to you?
Well, what has it meant to me? I mean, it's obviously been had a huge impact on my life, and my career, and my learning curve as an artist, an actor, a producer, a director. In terms of saying goodbye to it, it comes at the right time for me in my life. You know, I'm starting a new chapter. I've just become a dad, so there's a new chapter in my personal life. I'm also ready to play other characters. It has been a long time, and I think getting the opportunity to tell the story all the way to the end is something that everybody is so grateful to Netflix for letting us do that. And it feels very rounded and whole, and I really have no regrets in terms of what we've been able to in terms of the story we've been able to tell. And so I think the character of Uhtred is a strength that I feel like I'll always carry with me and can call upon when I need it. And the parts that I truly miss are, you know, the working with Levente, working with everybody on set, working with my fellow cast members, and being in that tight-knit community day in, day out. But the friendships I take with me, and so I can't say that I'm sad, because I feel like I get all the good parts, and I'm ready for a new part in my career.
Which we've discussed should be a romantic comedy set on an island somewhere nice and warm.
Correct.
And I'd like to be the stunt coordinator, please.
Yes, please.
Especially if it happens in a beautiful island at the Caribbean or somewhere.
Yeah, I want to be galloping naked on a white horse on the beach.
Is Netflix
I would be very happy to do this.
That actually sounds pretty painful, not completely naked.
Well, again, I want to thank you not only just for being here today, but for 5 seasons and a great film, for telling this story. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom with your fellow artists. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jenelle. I was so excited when I heard that you were going to moderate.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you for doing this.